Spinal adjustments provided by Dr. Chad Rolfson. The Spinal Tuning Chiropractic Center is a Des Moines area low flat fee per month unlimited chiropractic care practice. When life happens, just adjust. Schedule today at spinaltuning.com. It's Bible story time. I'm Jimmy Olsen. Joseph in prison. Genesis 39, 1 through 40, 23. Now the Ishmaelites had taken Joseph to Egypt and sold him to Potiphar, one of the king's officers, who was the captain of the palace guard. The Lord was with Joseph and made him successful. He lived in the house of his Egyptian master, who saw that the Lord was with Joseph and had made him successful in everything he did. Potiphar was pleased with him and made him his personal servant, so he put him in charge of his house and everything he owned. From then on, because of Joseph, the Lord blessed the household of the Egyptian and everything that he had in his house and in his fields. Potiphar turned over everything that he had to the care of Joseph and did not concern himself with anything except the food he ate. Joseph was well built and good looking, and after a while his master's wife began to desire Joseph and asked him to go to bed with her. He refused and said to her, "Look, my master does not have to concern himself with anything in the house because I am here. He has put me in charge of everything he has. I have as much authority in this house as he has, and he has not kept back anything from me except you. How then could I do such an immoral thing and sin against God?" Although she asked Joseph day after day, he would not go to bed with her. But one day, when Joseph went into the house to do his work, none of the servants were there. She caught him by his robe and said, "Come to bed with me." But he escaped and ran outside, leaving his robe in her hand. When she saw that he left his robe and had run out of the house, she called to her house servants and said, "Look at this. This Hebrew that my husband brought into the house is insulting us. He came into my room and tried to rape me, but I screamed as loud as I could. When he heard me scream, he ran outside, leaving his robe beside me." She kept his robe with her until Joseph's master came home. Then she told him the same story. "That Hebrew slave that you brought here came into my room and insulted me. But when I screamed, he ran outside, leaving his robe beside me." Joseph's master was furious and had Joseph arrested and put in prison, where the king's prisoners were kept, and there he stayed. But the Lord was with Joseph and blessed him, so that the jailers was pleased with him. He put Joseph in charge of all the prisoners and made him responsible for everything that was done in the prison. The jailer did not have to look after anything for which Joseph was responsible, because the Lord was with Joseph and made him succeed in everything he did. Sometime later, the king of Egypt's wine steward and his chief baker offended the king. He was angry with those two officials and put them in prison in the house of the captain of the guard, in the same place where Joseph was being kept. They spent a long time in prison, and the captain assigned Joseph as their servant. One night, there in prison, the wine steward and the chief baker each had a dream, and the dreams had difficult meanings. When Joseph came to them in the morning and he saw that they were upset, he asked them, "Why do you look so worried today?" They answered, "Each of us had a dream, and there is no one here to explain what the dream means." "It is God who gives the ability to interpret dreams," Joseph said. "Tell me your dreams." So the wine steward said, "In my dream there was a grapevine in front of me and 3 branches on it. As soon as the leaves came out, the blossoms appeared and the grapes ripened. I was holding the king's cup, so I took the grapes and squeezed them into the cup and gave it to him." Joseph said that what it means, the 3 branches are 3 days. In 3 days the king will release you, pardon you, and restore you to your position. You will give him his cup as you did before when you were his wine steward. But please remember me when everything is going well for you, and please be kind enough to mention me to the king and help me get out of this prison. After all, I was kidnapped from the land of the Hebrews, and even here in Egypt, I didn't do anything to deserve being put in prison." When the chief baker saw the interpretation of the wine steward's dream was forgivable, he said to Joseph, "I had a dream too. I was carrying 3 bread baskets on my head. In the top bread basket were all kinds of baked goods for the king, and the birds were eating them. Joseph answered, "This is what it means. The 3 baskets are 3 days. In 3 days the king will release you and have your head cut off. Then he will hang your body on a pole, and the birds will eat your flesh." On his birthday, 3 days later, the king gave a banquet for all his officials. He released his wine steward and his chief baker and brought them before his officials. He restored the wine steward to his former position, but he executed the chief baker. It all happened just as Joseph had said. But the wine steward never gave Joseph another thought. He forgot all about him. Joseph in prison. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to share it with others. You can always follow along through Apple Podcast, Google Play, and you can find this podcast and other podcasts as well through my YouTube page, which is My Buddy Jimmy 101.